So today is the day after the Stockport local elections, and one thing that's genuinely surprised me over the last few weeks of campaigning is the number of people who contacted me asking me, why aren't you standing, or why are you stepping down, or why have you decided not to continue? And honestly, I completely understand why people are confused, and to clarify, for the avoidance of any doubt whatsoever, I'm still here. I haven't stepped down. I haven't stopped being your councillor. I am still the councillor for Bramhall South and Woodford ward. But what is clear to me is that local government is actually quite confusing from the outside. Most people don't spend their time thinking about council structures, election cycles, or how metropolitan councils actually work. And honestly, why would you? For most residents, local politics only really appears once per year during the election season. You get leaflets through your door, you see campaign posts online, maybe you hear about the results the next day or over the weekend, and then everything disappears again for a while. But it's made me realise something really important. We as politicians probably don't do a very good job of explaining to residents how local government actually works. So I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity to pull back the curtain a little bit and explain it properly. Not just what happened in Stockport last night, but how local politics from the election through to the role of a councillor actually works, and why the results actually matter and what happens next behind the scenes. Because once you understand the structure of local politics, it starts to make a lot more sense, and actually it's far more interesting than people probably realise. Well, for some of us anyway. So let's start with the basics. One thing that a lot of people don't realise is that local elections in places like Stockport don't work the same as a general election. So in a metropolitan council like Stockport, each ward is normally represented by 3 councillors. So in my case, Bramhall South and Woodford has 3 separate councillors representing the ward, not just one. But here's the important part. All 3 councillors are not elected at the same time. Instead, councils like Stockport usually elect 1 councillor each year for 3 years in a row. And then in the 4th year, there's what's called a fallow year, and that's normally where there's no local election at all. The idea behind the system is continuity, because councils deal with long-term issues, roads, planning, housing, flooding, budgets, and lots of local services. The system is designed so that the entire council doesn't completely change overnight at every single election, and that's why I wasn't standing in this particular election. Not standing this year didn't mean that I was stepping down. It simply meant this wasn't my election cycle. Mine is next year. And actually, once you understand that structure, local election results start to make a little bit more sense. Because election night isn't just about individual councillors winning or losing their seats. It's about the overall balance inside of the council chamber. And that balance affects how the council is run over the next political year. Local election nights are about much more than individual wards. What matters most is the overall balance inside of the council chamber. So that's how many seats each party has, who controls the council, and ultimately who has the numbers to pass decisions, budgets and policies over the next political year. So in terms of the new political balance in Stockport, the Liberal Democrats now hold 33 out of the 63 seats on council. Labour have 14. The Greens have 4. Stockport Community Group, including the Edgeley guys, have 4. The Heald Green Independent Ratepayers hold 3. Bredbury and Woodley Independents 2. Reform with 2. And the Conservatives, that's me, now hold 1 seat, or continue to hold 1 seat. And that means the Liberal Democrats will take overall control of the council and will continue to lead the authority over the next political year. That also means the current leader of the council, Councillor Mark Roberts, is likely to continue in that role, with cabinet appointments and committee positions expected to be confirmed over the next few days. Now, from my own perspective, I'll continue serving as the only Conservative councillor on Stockport Council. Some people might look at that and think, well, opposition becomes less important in circumstances like this where we have a party with overall control. But personally, I'd argue exactly the opposite, because a strong opposition is a really integral part of any healthy local authority. One of the key roles of opposition councillors is scrutiny, challenging decisions, asking difficult questions, testing policies and making sure that decisions are properly examined before they affect any of the residents. Good scrutiny involves decision making, and actually some of the most important work in a local authority happens away from the headlines, inside committees and scrutiny meetings where decisions are properly tested and debated. Importantly, accountability matters in local authority just as much as it does anywhere else. The number of councillors that each group has affects almost everything, from who leads the council to who sits on the cabinet, who chairs committees, and how decisions move through the system. And if no single party has overall control, politics becomes much more about negotiation, compromises, and alliances. And that's where local politics can get really, really interesting. Now, because most decisions in local council aren't made through dramatic speeches or headline moments, they usually are shaped through meetings, committees, votes, scrutiny, and process. Most issues aren't solved overnight. They involve reports, officers, consultations, budgets, votes, and sometimes months or even years of work behind the scenes. And that's why results really matter, because even relatively small election changes can completely alter the balance of the council chamber. But election night itself is really only the beginning, because over the next couple of weeks, the political structure of the council will now start to take shape for the year ahead. Most people may think that election night is the end of a process, but in reality, it is just the beginning. One of the first big decisions is who leads the council, and from there, cabinet positions will begin to take shape. Cabinet members will oversee major areas like finance, housing, highways, children's services, things like waste management and all of that kind of thing. In many ways, they're a bit like local government ministers, but one thing a lot of people don't always realise is just how much council work actually happens away from the full council chamber. Huge amount of detailed work happens in committees and scrutiny, and we examine decisions, challenge policies, and hold the administration to account. Planning committees, a really important committee, make decision on development applications and will be in the spotlight over the next year. Other committees look at things like licensing, audit, governance and standards. And honestly, this is where a lot of the real detail of local authority sits, because politics is often far more procedural than what you might imagine. Committee members and committee places need to be allocated, chair positions are decided, and political groups organise themselves for the year ahead over this next few days. All of that leads into the first full council meeting of the year, the new political year, which is the mayor making meeting later in May. And that's a ceremonial meeting where the new mayor is formally appointed and the council year officially begins. It's one of the few moments where you feel a real bit of tradition and continuity of local government. But once that's all done, the real work continues. Residents still need help. Roads still need repairing, potholes sorted, planning applications decided, flooding issues need to be resolved, and ultimately the politics matters because it shapes how all of those things get dealt with. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I want this channel to explore going forward. And honestly, that's exactly why I wanted to do this, because local government and local authority really affects people every single day, whether it's roads, flooding, planning applications, parking, green spaces, council tax or local services. Decisions made inside council buildings have a direct impact on everybody's lives, but most people never really get to see how those decisions are made. You normally just see what the outcome is when you see a road closure or a new planning decision decided, the new housing development, the delays, the frustrations, the headlines. What you don't usually see is all the stuff happening behind the scenes, and I want to shine a real light on that. And that's really what On the Ground is going to be about. I want to use this channel to explain how local authority actually works from the inside, not some kind of polished political spin, not shouting, just honest explanations about how decisions get made, why some things move quickly, why some things take months, maybe even years, and who actually has the power to change things, and ultimately who doesn't. Some episodes might focus on a major local issue, some might be behind the scenes, some will explain how certain systems work, and some will simply be updates on things residents are asking about locally, because I think local politics is really far more interesting, far more important than many might realise. And if you have a question, please let me know and I'll try and answer it. So if you've ever wondered about how local government actually works behind the scenes, hopefully you're going to enjoy this channel. This is On the Ground with me, Councillor Peter Crossan.